Oh yeah.
Luigi's Mansion. A launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, this game starred Luigi in a quest to find and rescue his brother Mario.
That's right! Luigi, instead of Mario, takes the lead role in a video game for the first time. I mean, yeah, there was Mario's missing, but it doesn't even have Luigi in the title. Mario even takes that away from him.
I remember getting this game on Christmas in 2001 when my parents bought the family a Nintendo GameCube, and I hated it.
It legitimately scared me. I tried to play this game, but I could never make it past the part where the paintings started talking to you. But you're probably saying, what? How could that scare you? This game is just for kids! And you'd be right, except you're talking to a kid who is scared of everything. And I mean everything. Ghosts, the dark, the undead. Do you think this is cool, Nintendo? Actually, yeah, it is. But for some reason, I loved watching my brother play the Resident Evil games, which probably didn't help.
I was weird.
Several years later, I got over my fears and returned to the haunted piece of work, and it has since become one of my favorite Mario games, Luigi games, to play. The story of the game is pretty simple and starts off without needing much explanation. Luigi has just won a mansion in a contest he didn't enter and goes to meet Mario there. Instead of the happy-looking house he expected, he is greeted by a creepy manor sitting in the middle of a dense forest. Armed with only a flashlight, he looks around the mansion in search of Mario, only to discover that ghosts are haunting it. While being attacked, he is rescued by the old scientist, Professor Egad. Egad takes Luigi back to his lab where Luigi explains what he's doing, and Egad explains that the mansion had just appeared a few days ago. Worse, Egad says that he saw Mario enter the mansion but that he never came out, and deduces that Mario has been captured. In order to save Mario, he arms Luigi with the Poltergust 3000 as well as the Game Boy Horror and instructs him how to catch ghosts. He also tells Luigi how he once had an art gallery made from turning ghosts into portraits, but that the other ghosts have helped free them from their paintings. Now armed with these new weapons, Luigi sets out to rescue his brother from the grim fate the ghosts have for him.
Now this is where the main game actually starts.
As you explore through the mansion, you find that many of the rooms are locked, and many rooms have a hidden treasure chest that contains a key to unlock the next room. You also come across many different types of ghosts. You've got your basic ones that try to punch you, some others that try to grab you, and others that try to harm you in a different way. Egad later informs you that the ghosts that escape from his portraits are hiding in the mansion and are much more difficult to defeat than normal ghosts. These portrait ghosts cannot be stunned without finding out its weakness, and when sucking them up, they put up a vigorous fight to escape. After catching these boss ghosts, Egad puts them through a machine that turns them back into portraits, once again filling up his gallery. Upon returning to the mansion, Luigi finds and opens a hidden trapdoor, releasing a large mass of boos into the mansion. Egad states that the boos are responsible for capturing his brother, freeing the portrait ghosts, and making the mansion. He tells Luigi that the boos are stronger in numbers and that he has to capture many of the boos one by one in order to gradually weaken them. Eventually, Luigi starts finding clues of Mario's whereabouts, coming across 5 items that he dropped: his hat, his shoe, his glove, his letter, and his star. Luigi also finds Mario trapped inside a painting midway through the game. So, knowing where he is, Luigi works his way to rescue Mario, catching boos and ghosts along the way. Eventually getting to him, Luigi has a final showdown between King Boo and himself. After defeating King Boo, Luigi retrieves the painting of his brother and has him return to normal. The game ends as Luigi cries tears of joy upon finally seeing his brother back safe and sound.
The story is pretty simple and isn't trying to make any shocking twists or complicated story arcs. It's mostly just there to set the game into motion. What really makes the game is the gameplay mechanics, design, characters, and atmosphere.
I guess I'll start off explaining the gameplay mechanics. In the game, Luigi controls pretty basically. You have the control stick to move, A to call out or check things, the C stick to look around, B to turn off your flashlight, and R to vacuum. You are also given 2 methods of walking, standard or sidestep. In standard, Luigi will always look towards where the control stick is facing, while using the C stick to look around while vacuuming. I prefer the sidestep method, where in dark rooms, Luigi will always look towards where the C stick directs him, even without vacuuming. This can be very useful when trying to stun a ghost and turning around with the flashlight right as they are behind you. You have one main method of attack, which is to suck up ghosts with your Poltergust. This happens with a combo of using the flashlight to stun a ghost and reveal its heart, and then sucking it up with the Poltergust. While sucking up a ghost, you must push the opposite direction on the control stick to bring their health down to 0. After depleting their health, they are sealed away into the machine. This applies to all the ghosts, even the boss ghosts and boos. When catching boss ghosts, you will receive a different type of painting depending on how well you defeated them. If you catch them by sucking 90 of its HP in one go, you'll get a gold framed painting. If you suck at least 50 HP in one go, you'll get silver. And if you fail to get either, you'll receive a bronze frame painting. The paintings are pretty silly upon viewing them. It looks like someone just discovered filters in Photoshop and was trying all the different types on different ghosts. Wait a minute. That's exactly what they did. I can do that.
Add some details, some shadows, and...
Later in the mansion, you discover 3 different types of metals: the fire, water, and ice elemental metals. These metals allow you to suck up and then dispel the respected element from the poltergust. These elements are used mainly for puzzle solving in the mansion, and on a few occasions for fighting elemental ghosts. The element's uses also work in a triangle, similar to Pokemon. Fire can melt ice, water can put out fires, and ice can freeze water. Solving these puzzles with the elements usually triggers an event to further advance you through the mansion, be it by lighting candles or putting out fire. These will unlock doors or make ghosts appear. Some special ghosts are also made of an element, which means that only the element that beats that one can help defeat it. The Game Boy Horror, an obvious poke to the Game Boy Color, is another tool in Luigi's arsenal. Though it doesn't help you in fighting ghosts, it does allow you to inspect your surroundings in first person and scan the hearts of the portrait ghosts for hints. There's also a useful trick where if you scan any mirror with the Game Boy Horror, it causes Luigi to go through a trippy warp that always leads him back to the foyer. Scanning other items will cause Luigi to spout out a comment of his thoughts, which can be pretty entertaining. Jeez, Luigi, why you gotta be such a critic? With the Game Boy Horror, you can also check the layout of the mansion and which doors are locked, as well as look at what items you've collected and the portrait ghosts you've caught. The whole game is separated into 4 different areas. After going through the opening in the tutorial, you are put into Area 1. This area is relatively small and consists of rooms on the lower left corner of the 2nd floor. In this area, you fight normal ghosts and are introduced to boss ghosts, with the area boss being Chauncey, the ghost of a baby who uses his toys to attack you. The second area is much bigger than the first, consisting mainly of the first floor, and opens up some new game mechanics to you. It introduces you to boos as well as the fire and water elemental metals. It also introduces a key character, Madame Clairvoya, and the ability to look into Mario's lost items. After reaching the graveyard, you are thrust into a fight with Bogmire, some ghost graveyard thing who looks like he came out of my nightmares in a soup can. It fights by casting shadows of itself to attack you. Accompanied by many random lightning strikes, this makes for a fairly annoying boss fight. The third area consists mainly of the 2nd floor, with some rooms from the first sprinkled in. Here you finally find that Mario is trapped inside a painting in the basement. In this area you discover the ice elemental metal as well as discover the rest of Mario's items. The whole area is also less linear, at one point splitting and allowing you to choose which way you wish to go first. The boss of this area is Boolossus, a collection of 15 boos who attack by stomping around the arena. Fighting on the balcony, Luigi must first draw Boolossus to the pointy end of a statue to split the boos, then individually freeze and suck up every boo. Upon defeat, you will find that 15 more boos have been added to your boo catching total. The fourth and final area of this game is made up of the 3rd floor and basement as well as the roof. Immediately upon entering the new area, lightning strikes the mansion and knocks out the power, allowing for ghosts to once again rule the entire mansion. After switching the power back on, you are able to finish unlocking the rest of the rooms in a fairly non-linear fashion. After unlocking all the necessary rooms, you go to fight the last portrait ghost holding the key to where Mario is trapped. In a mini-boss fight, you battle the paintings of Vincent van Gogh. Oh, so this is where Bill ended up after the sacrifice. Huh? Finally, after getting the last key, you go to face King Boo, who transports you into a battle arena heavily based off the roof. Here, King Boo attacks you from inside a Bowser suit thing. He sucks you up, breathes fire at you, charges towards you, and throws spiky ball bombs at you. In order to defeat him, you must suck up a spiky bomb before it explodes and shoot it at him while he breathes fire or tries to suck you up. This will cause King Boo to come out of the bows and be vulnerable to being sucked up like a boo. After doing this a few times, he gets sucked up into the poltergust and is defeated. At the end of the game, you will receive a rank on your efforts based on how much money you've collected. This can be anywhere from rank H to rank A, with the latter needing at least 100 million G. What the hell is a G? The mansion is filled, and I mean filled, with money. Gold coins, bars, dollar bills, it's everywhere. In the dressers, the vases, the ceiling lights and fans, even the plants. There's so much money, you can't get the lowest rank unless you specifically aim to get it. To add to the already overflowing amounts of cash, the game also includes speedy spirits and gold mice. These ghosts, when sucked up, release a large amount of cash and usually a jewel or a diamond. The speedy spirits are like the basic ghosts, but blue in color. They will hide in an object, and upon being found, will quickly run around the room. If you fail to catch this ghost, they will disappear forever. These ghosts are always set in a specific location, with a few only being able to be captured during the blackout sequence in the game. The gold mice have two different ways of appearing. The first is by random chance upon walking near its spawning point. The best way to get these mice is to continuously exit the room and re-enter it until it happens. The other way is by finding a block of cheese and scanning it with the Game Boy Horror. This will cause the gold mouse to appear and start scurrying away. Unlike the speedy spirits, if you fail to catch one of these ghosts, they will still reappear after triggering them again. Collecting money is one of the most entertaining things in this game. When playing, I actually like collecting all the money I can, whereas with other Mario games, I could care less about the amount of coins I get. After clearing a room of ghosts, I don't immediately go to the next room. I first check the rest of the room for anything I've missed. It's fun to search the mansion for hidden jewels or stashes of cash. Sure, it helps that you've got the rank to try and achieve at the end, but there's something so satisfying about seeing the money fly out from a spot and go directly into your vacuum. Just imagine opening a cupboard and having money fly out at you. All these things make for great replayability, as once you complete the game, you can come back and try to collect more money, search for new areas of treasure, and beat the game faster than before. But this alone isn't everything. The whole game is set in the mansion, yet the mansion and the characters are so well crafted that none of it seems dull or overdone. Let's start with the mansion. It's pretty big, totaling 43 rooms, as well as a few outdoor areas, with each room having its own theme. But even in this giant house, there are only 2 toilets. What's up with that? You've got your standard bedrooms, and some more common things like a kitchen and dining room, and then very specific rooms, such as the billiards room, rec room, clock room, a mirror room. The list goes on. Only a few rooms are the same, and many of the rooms have some gimmick to them on how to trigger or defeat the ghosts in there. For example, in the projection room, you have to look for the ghost's shadow on the wall to figure out where they are. Or in the conservatory, you must play all the instruments to lure out the ghost's melody. Speaking of, the characters in this game, namely the boss ghosts, are quite memorable. Their names are usually just a play on what they do. Melody Pianissima, Biff Atlas, Vincent Van Gogh, Clockwork Soldiers. Despite this, many of them don't say much besides their hint. The mansion itself is what gives many of them their personality. Upon seeing the ghosts in the area, you can immediately infer what these ghosts are like and how to beat them. Like with Biff Atlas, you find him, a big muscled ghost in a workout room. You know that he's strong, and to beat him, you need to prove your strength. Slim Bankshot, a guy who plays billiards, mess with the balls. Sir Weston, a man living in the freezer sitting in a block of ice, light him up. A fat ghost constantly eating, take away his ghost jello. After catching these ghosts, you get a little bio of them in your Game Boy Horror, telling you a little bit more about them. Some of them are quite funny and are what make me love the boss ghosts even more. You know, for a Mario game, it's kinda nice to have all these simple, unique characters rather than just a plethora of clones everywhere, even if these characters don't do or say much. Oh, aren't I forgetting someone? That's right, one of the greatest characters to ever grace the Mario series, Professor Egad. I love Egad. From the way he speaks his gibberish to his wacky inventions, Egad is what gives Luigi's Mansion that charm and silliness that makes it a Mario game. He's a freaking senile old scientist who lives alone in the middle of a ghost-infested forest to study them. Not to mention, he Deus Ex Machinas this entire game. But do I care? No, because he's an amazing character. Not to mention he appears in quite a few more Mario games, becoming a prominent character in the series who isn't written out because fans over-adore them. I'm looking at you, Rosalina. The mansion creates a great atmosphere for the game to take place in. The mansion is, to me, creepy. I actually feel uneasy when playing the game, knowing that the ghosts are lurking to get me when in a room or being in the dark hallway just trying to get by. For a while, I couldn't figure out why I found it creepy, but after looking closer, I found a few ways that the game accomplishes making this atmosphere. Number 1 is the lighting. Luigi's Mansion is a launch title for the then new Nintendo GameCube, so they wanted to show off the console's power. Similar to how Pikmin boasted its over 100 dynamic objects on screen, Luigi's Mansion focused on dynamic and changing lighting. This is mostly brought about by the flashlight and the flashes of lightning. Shining the flashlight in the dark is the best way to see where you're going, but it also creates large distorted shadows of objects, making everything on screen seem off. Take a look at any old horror movie or cartoon. Many of them use large distorted shadows to emphasize that the place is haunted. Or say when a character enters a doorway and lightning flashes, creating a silhouette with a lawn casting shadow. The lighting in this game is well done and is probably the biggest factor in what makes the mansion creepy. Another element that adds to the game's eeriness is the sound. During the moments when you're in a room alone, you will hear a slight knocking sound as well as ghosts chanting the Luigi's Mansion theme. It makes you remember that even when you're alone, you aren't alone. The ghosts are there, just waiting to get you. The sounds the ghosts make when on screen are creepy as well. I don't know exactly what it is, maybe it's the slight echo to it, how it seems to fill up the entire room, but something about it is just unsettling. When Neville yawns, Nana screams, Chauncey's cries, Slim's sound when he's hurt, Mr. Lugs bellows, they just put me at unease. Add to that the main score of the game and the music when talking to and fighting ghosts, and you've got some pretty disturbing sound work. The last big component, probably the most subtle but still just as important, is the physical design of everything in the game. When you're in the mansion, you already feel uneasy, not just because it's dark and has ghosts, but also because of the physical aspect of it. Everything in the mansion is slightly distorted. The doors have a slight roundness to them, the furniture is slightly curved, and there isn't much symmetry in many rooms. These distortions make the mansion seem unfamiliar. Nothing seems right compared to what you know. The walls and supports are skewed, and some areas can even seem claustrophobic. The whole mansion gives off a sort of funhouse vibe. The ghosts themselves, especially the boss ghosts, are well designed to be creepy. Other than the sounds that they make, many of them are much bigger in size than Luigi. They're very caricaturized, often having much larger heads than their bodies, as well as other exaggerated features. The way they also sit there, completely ignoring Luigi, adds to their creepiness. They look as if they could easily jump out and attack Luigi. Instead, they just go about their business. When Luigi looks towards them, they disappear, choosing not to show themselves. But when Luigi has his back turned, they'll appear and still ignore him. Something about that is creepy. All these elements add up to make the game achieve what it was trying to do, be unsettling. This makes you want to replay it. You want to see all the wacky characters again, feel the uneasiness as you walk through the hallways. Which is great, because at the end of the game, they give you the option to go to the Hidden Mansion. On the second playthrough of an already beaten file, you have the choice of going to the normal mansion or the Hidden Mansion. The Hidden Mansion is the same as the normal mansion, except that the ghosts deal twice the amount of damage and the poltergust is 1.5 times stronger. Unless you're playing the PAL version. In the PAL version of Luigi's Mansion, there are a multitude of differences, the biggest one being that the entire mansion is mirrored horizontally. There are also more ghosts, fewer hearts, different boss fights, and more treasure. This greatly increases the difficulty compared to the first run of the mansion. The music in this game isn't exactly what you'd first think of when thinking of creepy or horror music. It's got a very unique style to it, but it manages to perfectly capture the feeling of the game. It also has this weird sound that I don't even know how to describe. There's some weird synth bass sound that sounds like someone had too much to eat. It's fat and funky, but with a PH, and it sounds awesome. The soundtracks in this game are like they took funky music and combined it with horror music, creating some sort of funky fantasy of sorts. And it works! It fits the game's style well, and it's one of the many things I like about it. What do I like about this game? There's a lot to talk about, so I think I'll begin with the characters. This is the first big role for Luigi, so before this game, we never had too much insight into his character. But this game brings out the Luigi we all know and love today, a cowardly brother who's willing to face his greatest fears in order to rescue his best friend and brother, no matter the circumstance. Not to mention Professor Egad is amazing. From the way he speaks, to what he speaks, to how he acts, this character is full of life. When I was younger, I remember constantly restarting the game just so I could see Egad try and fail to catch a ghost, because back then, that was the only thing in this game that I could laugh at. All the portrait ghosts are memorable, being very distinct in the way you fight them. I can clearly remember the way they look, how they act, the sounds they make, even some of their heart quotes. All the little bio descriptions add to them a lot as well. I love coming back to this game to see all the rooms occupied by the ghosts before Luigi clears them out. I especially love the ghosts Melody Pianissima and Biff Atlas. And of course, my boy Slim. These characters are some of my favorite to fight, and Slim, he's like a role model to me. It's kind of funny to think how all these ghosts would live together. Imagine being in a house where everyone living in it stayed in one room and only did one thing that they loved doing all day. These characters aren't good for their addition to the plot or for going through great character changes. They're good because they're creative and aren't dulled out clones. Each time you see one, you can say, I remember this character, I know how to beat them. Even the boos, who are clones, are slightly memorable. Every time one comes out, they shout some lame pun about them. Wait, an undead character shouting terrible puns about themselves? That sounds familiar. Another thing that I love about this game is the sounds of music. It isn't what I'd call outstanding, but some of the music in this game is really beautiful, such as the outdoor version of the mansion theme or the music that plays when in the observatory. The other music is just either real catchy or funky fresh, or both. I like listening to it on occasion when I just need something to listen to. The sound effects in this game are great too. They're satisfying to listen to, and the ghosts sound both natural and unnatural. It's hard to describe. It's also funny to hear Luigi shouting for his brother or humping some piece of furniture.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, say what you will, but I actually do find this game creepy, and I love how it did it. Note, I said creepy and not scary. This game doesn't scare me, it doesn't make me afraid of everything, but it does manage to make me uneasy or unsettled. The Resident Evil series, that's creepy and scary. Well, except for the newer ones. To me, the creepiest ghosts in this game are Nana and the Clockwork Soldiers. The way Nana rocks on her chair is eerie enough, but when you start getting ready to attack her, she starts gliding around in her chair firing lasers at you. And the Clockwork Soldiers, they're in the room with the puppets and the creepy clocks, and when you trigger them, they just start moving and they walk around all weird going to attack you, and you have to fight 3 at the same time? Ugh. And even though it's just a lighting error, when Luigi is on the phone and the lightning flashes casting a shadow of Luigi being hanged, that's creepy. When I first saw that, I was playing alone in the dark, and you better believe that freaked me out. I love when games put a bit of creepiness into a non-horror game. Think of the Re-Dead and Dead Hand in the Legend of Zelda series, or Submerged Castle in Pikmin 2. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door's Twilight Town is a great example. A brilliant, eerie part of the game. A horrible chapter, but a great, creepy part. This is why I love Luigi's Mansion. It doesn't outright frighten you when playing, but it makes you on edge. I can play this game over and over and still experience the same level of horror as when I played it last. The mansion does feel haunted. I feel like Luigi is in a threatening environment. But as with all games, you can't have a great game without having some flaws. What do I not like about this game? There isn't too much, but I'm certainly gonna nitpick some things. First is sucking up ghosts, namely booze. When sucking up ghosts, Luigi will be attached onto the ghost who will pull him around trying to shake him off. The boos, however, don't get attached on, and because of this, they can be very wonky when trying to catch them. When sucking up a boo, you have to do a weird back and forth movement to try and keep the boo locked on. You really have to get a groove for it, but ultimately the boo is going to escape your grip and fly into another room. But for some reason, the game sometimes decides that you can't get the boo back into a lock, which means the boo will only take about 2 or 3 damage before flying into another room. You'll have to constantly exit and enter different rooms in an attempt to catch him. Some boos have over 200 HP, which means it can take quite a bit of time to catch one. And if worst comes to worst, a boo from area 3 on the 2nd floor can fly into a room from area 1 on the 2nd floor. So you have to go all the way from the 2nd floor to the 1st and back up to the 2nd to get it. Second is the difference between the PAL and the NTSC versions of the game, which is the Hidden Mansion. I would have loved to have a more difficult option for this game after beating it. Not to mention that the entire mansion is flipped. It's like doing the mirror courses in Mario Kart or playing between the GameCube and Wii versions of Twilight Princess. The addition of more ghosts and reversing the entire mansion sounds like a wonderful opportunity that the American version of the game missed. I can only wish that if this game ever gets re-released that they add this feature in. The only other thing that I find disappointing in this game is the length of it. The game is just a tad too short and can be easily completed in several hours. Sure, I understand it's a launch title, but that shouldn't hold it back. Super Mario 64 was a launch title and it managed to be a pretty large game. If they could have added a few more rooms, a few more portrait ghosts, and a few more puzzles, also, the Hidden Mansion by the way, I would have been completely satisfied with how it stands today.
In spite of all this, Luigi's Mansion manages to be a great new series in the Mario franchise. It's fun, it's creepy, and I'm always willing to come back to play it again. That's why I'd rate this game an 8 out of 10.
The story isn't what makes this a great game. It's the gameplay, characters, and atmosphere. Everything about it has that charm that you can't really describe, but you know it's there. It's memorable, even today. I'll constantly find myself making some of the noises of the Ghost Maker thinking of the gibberish spoken by Egad. Luigi's Mansion is undoubtedly, and always will be, one of my favorite Mario games. And with that, I have to ask, are you afraid of the dark? Hey, thanks for watching! Do you have your own thoughts on Luigi's Mansion? Or do you have a suggestion for a future video? State it in the comments below. And if you like this video, consider checking out my top 10 most bullshit things in Mario Party. If you want to see more of my videos in the future, consider subscribing to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter to see updates and other unrelated stuff. Thanks again!